What is up, film fans and fans of movies? This is Let's Be Real with Brad. I talk about movies, TV shows, and do all sorts of fun and exciting videos here on the channel. If this is your first time here, you should just hit that subscribe button and you should smash that like button. Oh, and you should hit that notification bell too, so you never get to miss a new video. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about the new 2020 adventure monster film called Love and Monsters. So this film is actually pretty interesting because it was released on Netflix last week internationally, but this film has actually been out in the United States since October, and I never got the chance to watch this movie. So this movie is another apocalypse, monster, fun adventure movie that we've all kind of seen before. But what I think does well in this movie is that it absolutely knows what the target demographic is going for, which is basically like family and teenagers, and excels on it very well. The crazy thing about this movie is that I really thought this was based on a young adult novel, because the way this movie is structured is so much better than we have seen of these other garbage young adult novels. So let's dive nitty gritty into this review, starting with the acting. I found the acting to be quite serviceable in this movie. Michael Rooker, yes, Yondu is in this movie, and he's pretty good as well. He has a very small role, but I thought he was good for what he was in this movie. But I have to say, this is a very good looking film. I mean, the cinematography is excellent. There is loads of colors on the screen, because most of the movie they're in a jungle, but there are times where it's at night and it's just gorgeous. Even if this movie was bad, I could just watch the movie because of how good it looks. I also found that the music was pretty serviceable for this movie, as it definitely has that Jumanji adventure style of music that gets your heart pumping when all the action scenes are going down, and I thought it did a good job of just making you excited and just wanting to see what was happening next. It wasn't very memorable because I kind of forgot it already, but when you're watching the movie, you're like, yeah, keep going, keep more, we want more action scenes, woo! Speaking of action scenes, this was probably the most impressive aspect, because I was kind of shocked of how good the action was. The editing was also very good in these scenes. It wasn't very choppy, like you could see everything that was going on, and they were pretty creative of how they used these monsters when they were attacking the humans, and I was having a blast with it. Speaking of the visual effects, they were pretty good in this movie. Now, I do wish that they stuck with more of the practical elements, especially one of the practical creatures they used in the beginning of the film looked like it came out of 1982's The Thing. They do mix it well in this film, having some practical effects with also having CGI, but I thought it was pretty good. But it never felt distracting or felt like any of these monsters were fake in any way. I really love the character designs of these monsters, looking just so different and weird, but none of them were really all that creepy or disgusting looking. But that kind of was in the tone of this movie, kind of made for families and for older teenagers. The writing is also okay. We definitely know where this movie is going to go in many moments of the film, and it definitely has that same structure that we've seen. Like, it has some Jurassic Park elements to it, but I thought it was okay for what it was going for. The humor was good. It was a lot better than I was expecting going into this movie. I thought all the dialogue scenes were pretty decent, as I do enjoy that they pretty much just dumped all the exposition at the beginning of the movie. Like, hey, here you go. Here's like 2 hours of, no, well, it's not 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like 2 minutes worth of exposition that you probably won't need and you probably don't even need to care for. But we're just going to do this now, so we don't got to do it later. And I think that was the best choice to do it. Just bite the bullet now, and then the rest of the movie, you don't got to worry about it. But now we're going to lead right into the negatives. And this is something I just have kept mentioning, but this movie is just so predictable. Like, to the point where you know exactly where this movie is going. They even foreshadow it so hard in this movie, which is another big problem I have. If you are somebody who is good at seeing foreshadow, you will see everything in this movie. If you just pay attention to what the characters are saying, they happen every single time. And that was kind of disappointing, being the most predictable movie I have seen in quite some time. This also was quite a criticism in the third act, where we get this little twist at the end that was probably the film's most genuine twist that they tried, but it was so obvious. Like, it was a Disney movie twist. It didn't really make much sense because they didn't really develop this at all. Like, they just kind of shove it in here just so we can have some legitimate conflict with some bad people. And then my last big problem with this movie is sometimes it's really generic, but there are times where even like the adventure aspect of it really follows the same beat for beats that we have seen in these kind of films. Overall, this is a fun film that I did have a good time with. I definitely could rewatch this movie just because it knows exactly how to have fun and have the good action scenes and have characters you actually like and actually care for throughout the film. The cinematography is gorgeous along with great visual effects, even though it does feel very generic and something we've all seen before. I am giving Love and Monsters a 7 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the following review.